Welcome back to Miss B Biology. This is a revision lesson on chromosome cell cycle and mitosis. So grab your book and grab your pen and let us begin. The lesson objectives are to 1. Describe the stages of the cell cycle, and 2. Explain the importance of mitosis. The nucleus of a cell contains chromosomes, which are made of DNA and protein. Chromosomes are found in pairs. So for example, if we're looking at, say, us human beings, the pair come about from our mother and our father, the sex cells, the sperm cell and the egg cell, right? So there are 23 pairs of chromosomes in our body cells, and one set came from mom, the egg cell, and one set came from dad, from the sperm cell. Each chromosome in a pair has the same type of gene along its length, right? So if this is a pair of chromosome, and students, one came from mom, let's put M right there, and one came from dad. We're talking about the sperm cell and the egg cell, right? So along the length of the chromosomes, you'll find the genes, and you'll notice that they're the same type of genes, students, but they might be a different version or different form, right? But the genes are found in the same location, and they're the same type of gene for each pair, right? So those are the genes. You need to know the definition of the term gene. A gene is a section of DNA which carries coding for a particular protein. Ensure that you know that definition. Let us now look at the cell cycle. An actively dividing cell goes through a series of stages called the cell cycle. For example, if someone had a cut, the damaged cells would need to be replaced in order for the tissue to be repaired. The cells that are dividing would need to go through what we call the cell cycle, and there are 3 main phases or stages in the cell cycle: interphase, mitosis, and cytokinesis. If you have been practicing exam questions on this topic, you'll notice that this pie chart comes up quite often. It is just showing you how the stages are divided, right? So the longest stage is interphase, then you have mitosis, and then cytokinesis. Stage 1 is interphase, the longest stage. Let us look at what happens at stage 1. The cell grows, right? So what's the importance of the cell growing? There are quite a few importance. So 1, when the cell divides, students, the 2 cells that are produced, they must be the correct size. And so in order for that to happen, the cell had to increase in size. The next thing that needs to happen is that the organelles, such as mitochondria and ribosomes, they need to increase in number. And if you notice, there are 4 ribosomes in this cell at the top right here, and 2 mitochondria. And then you'll notice that the mitochondria and the ribosomes, they have increased in number. That is important, students, because the end result is that the cell will divide in 2, and there should be enough organelles for both cells. The next thing that happens is that the DNA replicates to form 2 copies of each chromosome. Students, always remember the end result. The end result is to form 2 cells that are genetically identical. So at the end, the 2 cells should have the same number and the same type of chromosomes. All right, so let's look at it. Our chromosomes, they are replicating. As mentioned before, interphase is the longest stage of the cell cycle. So let us put everything together that happens at interphase. 1, the cell grows. 2, organelles such as mitochondria and ribosomes increase in number. And lastly, the DNA replicates to form 2 copies of each chromosome. Stage 2 is called mitosis. In mitosis, the nucleus divides and the chromosomes, they split into 2, and 1 set of chromosome is pulled to each end of the cell. And you can see that in the diagram below. Stage 3 is called cytokinesis. In cytokinesis, the cytoplasm and cell membrane divides in 2, and 2 new cells that are genetically identical are formed. So students, if you notice that these two new cells, these look like the original cell that we call the parent cell. Let us now look at the importance now of mitosis. Mitosis is a type of cell division where two new cells are produced that are identical to the original cell. And you can see that in the diagram below. Please note, students, that mitosis occurs in our body cells. That is how our body cells are produced. But our sex cells, which would be our egg cell and our sperm cell, they undergo a different type of cell division that is called meiosis. And we'll talk about meiosis later on. Still looking at the importance of mitosis, mitosis is needed for growth. It is needed for repair of tissue and replacement of cells at site of wound or injury. Let us look at this common exam question. Describe what happens in each of the three stages of the cell cycle. Students, this question usually value 4 to 5 marks. If it is 4 marks or 5 marks, please write everything that I'm putting up on the screen. So stage 1, the cell grows. The organelles such as mitochondria and ribosomes increase in number. The DNA replicates. Stage 2, the nucleus divides. The chromosomes split into two. One set of the chromosome is pulled to each end of the cell. And stage 3, the cell membrane and cytoplasm divides. I hope you now have a better understanding of this topic. Thank you so much for watching and all the best in your exams. Bye bye.